They didn't announce it with flashing headlines. There was no press conference, no media blitz, no bold declaration. Just a quiet update tucked away in an obscure FAA operations manual. But inside that mundane document, buried like a time bomb, was a line that changes everything. For the first time in U.S. history, the FAA has formally ordered pilots and air traffic controllers to report encounters with unidentified aerial phenomenon directly to a national security office. Not a UFO hotline, not a fringe civilian group, to the Department of Defense. And almost no one noticed. This wasn't a minor policy tweak. This was a fundamental shift in how the United States government treats the unknown. After decades of silence, mockery, cover stories, the FAA has quietly legitimized the one thing it spent 75 years trying to ignore. So what changed? Why now? And what does this mean for everything they never told us? In September 2025, the FAA issued a set of procedural updates. Just another day in aviation bureaucracy. But hidden within those dry memos was a seismic change. Controllers were now instructed, if something unknown appears in the sky, something without a transponder, something moving in ways that defy expectation, it must be reported directly through a secure defense network. From there, it goes to the National Tactical Security Operations Team. And then it lands on the desk of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. That office, known as AARO, exists solely to investigate the unexplained. For decades, pilots were given the runaround. If they saw something strange in the sky, they were told to report it to civilian groups with no authority and no access to military intelligence. The unspoken message was clear. Don't cause trouble. Don't stir the pot. Don't admit you saw something you weren't supposed to. But with this update, the FAA has reversed course. Encounters with unidentified phenomena are no longer fringe curiosities. They are official matters of aviation safety and national defense. It's not just a change in protocol, it's a change in belief. And that shift didn't happen in a vacuum. To understand how radical and paradigm changing this is, you have to remember where we came from. For most of the last century, reporting a UFO was the fastest way to destroy your aviation career. Pilots who came forward were mocked, grounded, even stripped of their licenses. Military brass laughed off encounters as optical illusions or weather balloons, sometimes while classifying these exact same incidents as top secret intelligence. The culture was built on silence, and it worked. Navy pilot Ryan Graves, a former Lieutenant U.S. Navy F-18 pilot and now the founder and executive director of Americans for Safe Aerospace, would later reveal that less than 5% of UAP sightings by trained professionals were ever reported. Most pilots chose to keep their mouths shut. Others waited until retirement to speak the truth. And the FAA helped maintain that silence. For decades, their official guidance funneled pilots away from reporting anything anomalous through formal channels. If you saw something strange, you were on your own. No one was listening. Behind the scenes, agencies like the CIA ran disinformation campaigns. They actively worked to discredit sightings, sometimes investigating those very same reports in secret. Even the Roswell incident was buried under layers of contradiction. First called a flying disc, then a weather balloon, then a classified spy program. Each revision raised more questions than it answered. But the point wasn't to clarify, it was to confuse. We have a great story on that over at our sister channel, Fraying Reality, The Hidden Files, if you want to check that out. By the time the Cold War heated up, the government had decided that ridicule was more effective than denial. And for nearly 3 generations, that stigma stuck. Until one moment on Capitol Hill cracked it wide open. It happened in the summer of 2023. Under fluorescent lights and C-SPAN cameras, 3 men testified before Congress and said what many had whispered about for decades. One was a Navy pilot describing near daily encounters with unknown objects, silent, fast, maneuvering with intelligence and without propulsion. Another was the commander who witnessed the now infamous Tic Tac encounter off the coast of California. His voice calm as he recalled technology that outpaced anything the U.S. military had in its arsenal. But it was the third man who dropped the hammer. David Grush, former intelligence officer, security clearance deep enough to walk the halls of black budget programs most people don't even know exist. And under oath, he said this: the United States government has recovered crashed craft of non-human origin. It is actively attempting to reverse engineer their technology, and it has collected biological material that is not from Earth. He claimed these programs operate outside of congressional oversight, illegally. And when he tried to expose them through proper channels, he was met with retaliation so brutal it nearly destroyed him. The intelligence community's inspector general labeled his complaint urgent and credible. Suddenly, the stigma machine was sputtering. And he wasn't alone. More witnesses followed. Navy officers, rear admirals, defense contractors. Each brought pieces of a puzzle the public had been denied. And when they spoke, they didn't sound like fanatics. They sounded like men who had nothing left to lose. In the wake of the hearings, the Pentagon stood up AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Its job? To investigate UAPs wherever they appear, in the air, underwater, in space, or crossing between them. But critics quickly pointed out the contradictions. Why does an office dedicated to unidentified phenomenon keep insisting there's nothing to see? Why do its public reports downplay cases while quietly logging hundreds of new incidents? And if most sightings are easily explained, why are they classified? Lou Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's own UAP program, wasn't buying it. He called AARO's reports dishonest, deliberately misleading. He accused the leadership of burying evidence and discrediting whistleblowers. Meanwhile, Congress pushed back. In 2025, they passed a law with a name that sounds deceptively dull, the Safe Airspace for Americans Act. But buried inside it was a legal earthquake. It forced the FAA to standardize reporting procedures for pilots. It guaranteed protections for anyone who came forward. And it required coordination between the FAA, the Pentagon, NASA, and intelligence agencies. The age of plausible deniability was ending. For the first time, aviation professionals could report what they saw without risking their careers. And as of September 2025, that process is now official. So, here we are. The FAA is routing sightings of unknown craft directly to national security. The Pentagon has built a new bureaucracy to investigate what it still claims probably isn't real. Congress is passing laws to protect people from telling the truth. And yet there are questions no one will answer. What kind of craft had been recovered? How many? Where are they now? What kind of biological material was found inside them? And if Lou Elizondo is right, if there really is an arms race to reverse engineer these technologies, who else is playing the game? There's something haunting in the way officials talk around the truth. You'll hear phrases like above top secret, outside oversight, non-human intelligence, but never the full sentence, never the confirmation. And yet, piece by piece, the picture is forming. The skies are no longer empty. They never were. And it's extremely likely that we were not in control of them and probably never have been. In a world that's increasingly noisy, the FAA said something this year without saying anything at all. They changed the rules. They rewired the system. And by doing so, they acknowledged, finally, that unidentified phenomena are real, persistent, and important enough to monitor. But the question is no longer whether these objects exist. It's why they're here. What do they want? And why our own government spent nearly a century making sure we wouldn't ask. The stigma is breaking. The silence is cracking. And what's coming next will be harder to deny. Because when pilots no longer fear speaking up, the skies will start talking. And the truth, whatever it is, will finally have nowhere left to hide. But that's just what I think. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. We know you have choices and your time is limited, so we do appreciate you hanging out with us. If you like what you see, please remember to like and subscribe. It's free to you, and it means the world to us. And we really do appreciate you. And as always, keep an open mind, but not so open your brains fall out. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.